trust in Dr. Howe. Relate to this.
Hey. Listen, we moving up to the next level, Hal. We are moving to the next level of relate to this. We want to thank Mr. Darnell Harris for that intro. Darnell Harris, check him out. Wonderful intro to this episode. That's our new theme song. You learn along the way, Dr. Howe, that how they say every superstar has their own theme song.
I think that was from the movie I'm Gonna Get You Sucker.
Absolutely. Every superstar has superhero has their theme song. And listen, in this aspect, we are superheroes as it relates to this.
Wait, hold on. Before we go any further, can you change my name?
Mercy. Listen, it's unfortunate that Dr. Howe wears so many different hats, and from in one degree he's on an episode of Awkward Situations, and then he is a relationship coach. He is a relationship consultant, and he's all over the place. So his name, don't fear. The name's the same, but it just changes. I don't think did I get that right? That seems like that's wrong. I done added an I where it shouldn't be. Right?
Let me make it bigger. Let me see. Nah, that's good.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yes. So yes. So I'm happy to be here this evening once again in this great episode. Now listen, Dr. Howe, listen.
Yeah.
For some people that may be watching this for the first time or hearing it for the first time, they say, well, what do these guys do? What is this? What is this program all about? Why are they here? What are they really doing? But I'll tell you this. This is what we're doing. We're doing what a lot of people won't do. We're answering questions that a lot of people are scared to even bring up. We are trying to bring light to those relationship questions. Now, we talk about don't run. I see you running already. Don't run. Come back. We talk about relationships. We're talking about interpersonal relationships. We're talking about relationship with friends, relationship with spouses, relationship with girlfriends, relationship with boyfriend, relationship with your brother, relationship with your sister. I mean, it's gloves off. We are talking relationship, giving tips. Okay, let me back up. I'm not giving any tips. I'll be honest with you. I say it on every episode. My disclaimer is I am not a pro. What I am is I'm that what do you want to call? I'm that hype man, right? I'm the hype man. I'm gonna get you there, but I'm not gonna jump in with you. And so that's why we have Dr. Howe on the scene. He brings to light these things, and he kind of answers them. You kind of, and I was talking third person for a second. You kind of answer those questions in a way that some people don't think about.
Yeah.
And so we're glad to always have Dr. Howe as the co-chair. That's how we're doing, the co-chair to this show. With more, he's a co-chair. This is how it works. This is how this elevator runs. He's a co-chair, but he's also the CEO of our sponsor, MEI, Making Education Intentional. So we always like to remind and thank MEI for their sponsorship as they continue to broaden their horizons. And you're going to hear a lot more about MEI in the coming months. And
can I just step in there for one quick second?
Sure can. Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, if you go on TikTok, if you go on YouTube and all those other places, all those other platforms, you will hear people talking about relationships. But a lot of times it's not. It's like more like a brawl. They're either talking about women bashing or man bashing, or, very seldom do you get a calm approach to to relationships. Now, my premise is this. I believe that relationships work best when each individual gives value. Each person has to bring something to the table. Whether you're male or female, you have to bring something that the other person finds or deems important. I don't care if you're a high value man. I don't care if you're a high value woman. At some point in time, a healthy relationship will demand an exchange of something. Everyone wants something in a relationship, and you have to provide that. And it can't always be physical. So we provide things that you can bring to the table to help your relationship become stronger, become more developed and multi-dimensional, and not just one dimension, all about sex or all about gimme, 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 all about me. And so if you want a healthy relationship that talks about value from both aspects, based on a person who has tried many things and have gotten it wrong, has done the research and has 30 plus years in, and we're still kicking, and now we're happier 30 years in than we were when we first begun, then you've come to the right place.
And there you have it. and folks, believe it or not, that's not a sales pitch. That's just reality. That's just reality. If you want it, you know how they say it's straight from the horse's mouth. There's your horse. There is your horse. Let's go ahead and get into this episode tonight, because we don't want to keep the people long, but we want to be able to give them exactly what they need. You know what I want to start, Dr. Howe, as we go through. We're gonna do what's called the bonus question. Okay, the bonus question. So at the end of every episode, we're going to do one bonus question that hopefully, if everything, we change every once in a while, but hopefully that bonus question will just be what the appetite for what the next episode is going to hold. So,
yeah.
So I put that out to everybody, that when you hear bonus question, you want to start getting your notes out, because you want to be on that next episode. It's going to be like a cliffhanger, if you will. So let's go ahead and get into the episode. I want to set the table. Okay. We just left out of Thanksgiving, and a lot of things happen at Thanksgiving, at the Thanksgiving time, that historically does not happen at any other holiday, not even Christmas, because it's mostly Thanksgiving. Around the Thanksgiving time, families, they are coming together, whether small, big, or whatever the case may be. And sometimes during those, that holiday, you get to sitting around at the dinner table, right? Or you're sitting there around, eating some dessert later, and different conversations pop off from that, right? So debates occur and conversation about this and, conversation. So it always expands itself into a healthy conversation. Now that can happen at any dinner table, but especially like Thanksgiving, where families are coming together. And one of those questions, and so I set the table because this is the Thanksgiving table. We're going to start with the appetizer. So at that table, Dr. Howe, one of the things that comes up is, who does most of the cooking? That question comes up historically. Who, is the husband, the wife, kids, whoever, who does, and it's mostly more the husband and wife kind of thing. Like, who does most of the cooking, right? That brings me to the first question is, how do you share power equally in a relationship? How do you share power equally in a relationship?
Now, that's a very tricky question. A lot of people have been trying to get that 50-50 dynamic mastered, but I like to go back to Chris Rock. Chris Rock, in one of his stand-up specials, he says, sometimes you sing lead and sometimes you're on the tambourine, and nobody wants a disgruntled tambourine player. So if you know one thing about tambourine players, they have to be happy looking in order for it to work properly, in order for people to feel the vibe, and so no one, a relationship can never ever be 50-50, because when you're in your strength, you're operating at 90+%.
Mhm.
But then there's things that you're not good at, and so the other person operates at their 90 to 100%. So sometimes you push forward, sometimes you push back or step back, but the key to it is to make sure that everybody has a say. So one of the things that you can do is to take turns making decisions and compromising, even though you might be good at one thing. So for example, my wife is good at excuse me, at answering, paying bills and stuff like that. She does that very well, but she always checks with me to make sure, hey, how much you want to pay on this, how much you want to pay on that. So even though it's her thing, she checks with me to make sure that I'm okay with the amounts that she's putting on there. So that's how you can, share some of the power. But I let her do that. When it comes to the outside stuff, I do all the yard work, but she always has to say, hey, you know what, maybe cut that bush down a little bit more, or maybe trim this a little bit more. But she knows that's my thing. And so it's never 50, it's never 50-50, because it's only 50-50 if you're both in the trenches together. If she's outside and she's doing everything like I'm doing everything, then it'll be 50-50. But like I said, that's not her strength. She's scared of bugs. I'm scared of bills. And so we basically, play back and forth. Don't be power hungry, man. Don't always have to have the last say. That's a biggie. Like, if you're the dude, you don't have to keep reminding your lady that you're the man of the house. That should go without say. When I step into public, it might look that my wife's in charge of stuff, because I let her do her thing. She does her thing, but every decision that needs to be made, she always runs it by me. And a lot of times we take care of that before we even get out into the public. So it might look like she's running stuff, but we have that understanding. Hey, let's take care of this before we go out, so we look like we on the same page.
So let me stop you there,
Uh-huh.
because you said something very important, and I want our audience to dissect what you said.
Mhm.
Because we have this, we're caught up in this belief, the Joneses, right? The Joneses and the Johnsons and the Smiths, those are the popular names, right?
They're trying to
And
keep up.
we've always said historically that, hey, you trying to be like XYZ, right?
Mhm, mhm.
Why is it that we concern ourselves with how something looks? Like what you just said, it may look like my wife is in control, or it may look like I'm in control, but we talked about that in the back room on what we're going to do moving forward.
Yeah, yeah.
Why are others so concerned with? Because I hear it, a lot, right? Like,
Mhm.
man, that man is whipped, or hey, man, that woman is da da da, or whatever the case may be. Why can't it be that, oh my gosh, they got a great relationship?
Because misery loves company, man.
Keyword.
Misery loves company. That's basically it. When you single, a lot of times you be hating. Like, when you get married and your boys are single and they don't have nice warm food to come home to, or they don't have a nice warm bed to come home to on a regular, they might say things, but in actuality, they're actually jealous of that life. And you gotta see how they react to you. If they're coming over to your house to get the food and they're not going to their girlfriend's house to get the food, then obviously you done something right.
Right.
But they'll give you a hard time, and you will think, oh man, it's the ball and chain. Why we call it the ball and chain? You know what I'm saying? Why can't you just have a relationship that works best for everyone, and you all are working towards a common goal? Like, if we jump to the Bible says, if you're walking down the road, in Proverbs, if you're walking down the street, it's easier for one to get attacked and defeated, but two are harder to defeat than one. Why is it we trying to be successful in life by ourselves? Why is it we trying to keep money away from from our partners? Why is it that we're not trying to let the partner know what we're trying to achieve in life? Why is it that we're not aiming towards the same dream? My wife told me what her dream is. I told her what my dream is. We kind of came to the middle somewhere, and we're working together actively to fulfill our retirement dream. And, but a lot of times people trying to hide their money from their, girls hiding money, guys hiding money, and you're struggling by yourself, and you wonder why you're miserable. Right. So it's not about power. It's about a plan. You got a plan to be successful together. You don't just stumble into a healthy relationship. You got a plan there, and that means taking your egos and putting them aside to work towards a common goal. But the common goal only works if you first find the right person for the right reason. A lot of times we want to hook up with somebody because they look good and because, their economic status and all that stuff, and then we living in misery. Right. Why don't you find somebody that you're compatible with or have common goals and dreams with and work towards the common goal and learn to love each other and help each other get towards that common goal instead of fighting each other along the way? So take the ego out of it, take the domineering spirit out of it, add value to each other and push forward. It don't have to be a fight, and it don't have to be misery.
Right. Yeah, definitely. Listen, man, that was a good appetizer there, man. That was a good appetizer. Let's move over. Let's move over to the other table that has all the nice meats in it, right? It has all the nice meat. So to piggyback on the behavior, the shared power, and as you mentioned, there can never really be, this 100%, this 50%. It's all depending on strengths and weaknesses, and you kind of explain those things. But to back up that one, the question out there is, and this is a meat here, what behaviors prevent control or dominance issues? Because we got a lot of people out there that, as you just mentioned a few minutes ago, when you talk about control, I'm the man of the house, or I'm this and this and this. But what are some of those behaviors that prevent control or dominance issues?
All right, well, let me tell you this first. And when you first look at it, everybody says communication is the key. I say scrap that. Communication is not the key, because I can communicate to you or to my partner in the worst way possible. I can communicate with my hands. I can verbally abuse you in the form of communication. So communication is not the key. To me, it's connection. It's all about value. If I value you and I want to enrich your life and I'm adding value to you, that means I got to study you to find out what it is you need. That means every day when you come in the door, I'm looking at you almost like a puppy. When you come in the house, they say that dogs, when they look at their owners, because they want to study them to see what type of mood they're in. And then they said that the dog's heartbeat aligns with the owner's heartbeat. That's deep. Wow. They connect to you on a biological level. So what I'm saying to you is this: when you connect with your partner, then ego is not pushing you.
Wow.
So they can say something to you that might hurt you to the core, but it's going to make you a better person. So you you swallow your pride and you push forward. You change, you develop, you become a better person. And so what behaviors do you have to do? The first thing you got to do is to put that ego aside. The second thing you got to do is to be able to listen. If you know that person loves you and they tell you something you don't want to hear, it's for your best interest. And so listening is another behavior that you need. And then secondly, if you see, now everybody has a bad day. There's a saying out there that says every dog has its day, but every dog couldn't have its bad day too. So when you're having a bad day and your partner says, hey, you know what? I think you're letting the ego get in the best of you.
Right.
Don't start a fight. Listen to what they're saying. You might be off your game that day.
Right.
So swallow your pride, do a self-check and see what you need to adjust. Because if that person has not shown you in the past that they're out to hurt you or harm you, then everything they're doing is out of love.
Right.
And so the biggest part is humans are selfish by nature. You got something I want, I got something you want. Yes, that's how every relationship starts. Ooh, nice body. Ooh, nice personality. Ooh, nice bank account. Ooh, nice car. Whatever attracts you to that person. That's the selfish part. But you got to grow beyond that to become a healthy relationship and say, okay, well, what does that person bring to me besides just that external? And what can I bring to them besides just that external? So we all need to be working on ourselves to become a better version of ourselves. So we even need that alone time so we can develop ourselves. We call it self-improvement.
Right.
So I'm constantly and continually developing myself so that we don't have time to grow apart, because I'm constantly bringing new things to you and to the relationship. So if I'm constantly finding ways to add value to the relationship, my ego is out the way, my selfishness is out the way. I'm bringing value to you, and I'm learning to communicate with you when I'm feeling hurt, when I'm feeling down, when I'm feeling out. I'm not relying on you to be a mind reader.
Right.
You know, and a lot of times men and women do it. Well, you should have known this. Nah, you should have said something. And then number two, only argue one thing at a time. If you come to me and you say to me, hey, you know what? I don't like the way you spoke to me this morning, and it's been bothering me all day. Because I didn't start the conversation, I can't say, well, I didn't like what you did last week. If you didn't bring it up last week when it happened, don't bring it up now. Don't be flooding our discussions with a whole bunch of different stuff. Let's deal with one issue at a time so that we can solve it and move forward. And so don't be holding on to what you did wrong, so that when you bring up something, I'm going to trump it with something even bigger.
Right.
You know, so these are things that we can do to make sure that we can communicate better, and to make sure that we don't have these power struggles and communication problems. Because if you connect, the communication will automatically come next, and you will have a healthy relationship.
Wow. That's I think that's one of the important pieces there, that healthy part of the relationship. And you said something a little earlier that sparked this next question. You talked about the fact that they may say something that hurts you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, to the core,
Mm-hmm.
in hopes that it makes you better.
Mm-hmm.
So my question is this, because now I'm going to refute the hurt part with this question. It's how do you get better at unconditional positive regard for each other? And that's pretty much saying, how do you love the whole package? Because what you said just now is, listen, I know I done got into this relationship. I knew what I was doing when I got into it. I knew exactly who you were, how you were, what you were, but there's a list of items I have that I need for you to change. And da 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 da. Right?
Mm-hmm.
How do you love the whole package? Because I didn't say part of it, a quarter of it. I didn't say unconditional during this period of time when everything is going well. You know, how do you have unconditional positive regard for each other? And really, Dr. Howell, if you can unpackage that in a way for us where we can understand what unconditional positive regard really is.
Hey, listen. The best way to think about it is think about all the things that attracted you to that person in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
My mom told me a story when I was getting serious with my wife. When we were getting close to marriage, my mother said something to me that didn't make a lot of sense, but I kind of took it on, and I kind of internalized it, and it made sense later on. So let me share it with the listeners. My mom said to me, think about the one thing that your current girlfriend does that drives you crazy. Multiply it by 10, and then decide if it's something that you can live with. And it might be 2, 3 things. Now, let me say it to you a different way. Researchers have shown that you will love between 70 to 75, if you're lucky, 80% of the person that you are interested in. That's all you won't get. There's no perfect person out there. So that means that means that there's 30 to or 20%, between 20 and 30% that's going to drive you nuts. And what my mother was saying to me is, it's that 20 to 30% that you will focus on and it will drive you nuts in a relationship. So how do you love unconditionally? You focus on the positive. You focus on the things that you liked about that person. So let me give you a true story. When my wife and I first got married, we moved into our apartment in Huntsville, and we had one sink in the bathroom that we had to share. Now, I grew up in a place where we squeezed the toothpaste from the bottom all the way up. My wife squeezed it from the center. That became my 20 to 30%. It was driving me nuts. When I brush my teeth, I'll brush my teeth like a wild, crazy person, and I left the sink wet. That was her 20 to 30%. And so we focus on the negative instead of and on the positive. So what my mother was telling me is, every problem that you have now is going to be amplified once you get married. Because for some reason, when you say I do, all the negatives amplify. And so what happens is people start to focus on the negatives of the person instead of the positives. And so they say you are what you think. You are what you focus on. You are what you think about. If you're thinking about negatives, then negative is going to drive you. So how do you have unconditional positive regard for each other? One of the things that I was told to do earlier on is to get an index card and write on that index card 10 things I like about my wife, and then put it in a drawer. And when you upset and when you mad, when you can't stand that person, you pull it out and look at it. And put it in a drawer that you might see on a regular basis. So you know the card is there, but you may not need it until later on. And then when you really need it, you know where to find it. Because a lot of times we put stuff in drawers that we can't find later on. But put it in your underwear drawer, your sock drawer, or your t-shirt drawer. And when you're upset, you pull that out and you look at it, you're like, okay, yeah, I like her smile, like her lips. Okay, I like okay, yeah, she's encouraging. And you go down the list, and that reminds you of why you pick that person in the first place. So if both partners are doing that when they get upset, then that is something that can help you in your relationship. And you remember the book that I told you to read, your next 5 steps. Well, I was listening to a YouTube that he had called Your Next 15 Steps. And he said before he married his wife, he asked her, hey, when you and I get into an argument and you get mad at me, who you gonna call? And she gave the list of the 3 people she would call. And he was like, no, you gotta scrap that list. He was like, your list should be 3 to 5 people that are on my side. And my list should be 3 to 5 people that are on your side. Because when you upset and when you mad, you don't need somebody echoing the negatives.
True that.
You need somebody to echo the positives, to remind you until you can get back to that index card. You know, and so a lot of times we like, when we down and out, we like them Debbie Downers, and we want them people to echo, you know, what we're saying. Yeah, I ain't like her anyway. She this, that, and the other, and he no good, he this and that. And they know full well that they wish they had you. You know, so you get people in your circle, and I call it your circle of influence. Right. People who would actually be the sounding board and be the forerunners of common sense when you're mad.
Right.
Yeah. When you're upset, you're not thinking about the nice things. You're thinking about all that 20 to 30%. So you need people who are going to be pulling you back in. And then last but not least, you got to center yourself. You got to meditate, and you got to try and keep your life positive, because when you flood your brain with positive feelings and emotions, eventually the rest of your life, becomes positive. A lot of times people think that their home life, romantic life, work life, friend life, they're all independent. When one of those, even your spiritual life and your physical life, when any of those things are out of whack, the rest of your life is going to follow suit at some point in time. So you got to learn to meditate, exercise, eat right, get your rest, and consume positive media, whether it's books, radio, television, whatever, your smartphones. Consume positive stuff so that your life becomes positively driven and you're focusing on positive stuff. So it'd be easier for you to find the positives in your partner.
Wow. Listen, and I'm going to repackage what he just unpackaged. And, I got this table I've set.
Well, you told me to unpackage this.
This Thanksgiving table I've set out here. And so what he basically said is when he talks about the 70, 30 or 80-20 or whatever the case is.
Mhm.
I mean, I love Thanksgiving. I may love the person. I love Thanksgiving. But there's always something at the Thanksgiving table that I just don't like.
Mhm.
Do I throw the whole Thanksgiving away? Absolutely not. I may not like that item, but I still love Thanksgiving.
Mhm.
That's
very eloquently spoken.
That's my 2% for the show. He has 98. I have 2%.
Hey, but that too.
that could win the game every time. So definitely. All right. So bonus question time. Ding, 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 ding. As we move forward, we're gonna get a little better with our
You need to have a little synthesizer.
Right. Some bells and whistles to go along with our show, things of that nature. So our bonus question. Well, let's deal with this first before we go to our bonus question. In regards to relationship building, Dr. Howe, and the things that have been said tonight based on certain aspects of the relationship, and you touched a little bit or even a lot on certain aspects when we talk about sharing power, and you mentioned that there's technically never going to be where a lot of us have said 50-50 and relationships 100-100 and everybody get excited about that, right? Oh yeah, we 100-100 or we 50-50. And you put a spin on it and say it's never going to be that because it's going to be based on somebody else's strengths. So our strengths may not be aligned. Where I'm strong, you may be weak. Or where
that's how you want it.
Right, that's how you want it. You want that. That's called balance, right?
Yeah.
You balancing. You balancing what each other in that aspect. So we talked about that. We talked about somebody trying to be dominant and in control of relationship and things of that nature. And let's be real about it. Let's look for red flags, right?
Mm-hmm.
Red flags when you got that person that basically says it's my house and I'm gonna run it the way I need to run. Sometimes those can be the red flags in those relationships. So when we wrap this up in a nice take home box, we Thanksgiving, right? When we wrap this up, Dr. Howe, what is the key? What is the key to having? I'm not talking about the healthiness. The key to having, I guess this would fall under healthy, but the key to having a balanced relationship as it relates to what we've talked about this evening.
Well, I'll tell you this. One of the strongest things that I can advocate is self-development. You need to spend time every day and every week alone, learning to be comfortable with solitude. Solitude is where you get to look at yourself, your down and dirty self, and see what needs to be cleansed, what needs to be restructured, what needs to be strengthened, and how you need to improve. And then find the steps necessary to improve. If you spend every waking moment with your partner, when do you have time to develop yourself so you can bring them more?
Hmm.
You know, and so it's unhealthy to always be with your partner. If you don't have time to go and explore your hobbies and discover new hobbies, how can you bring more excitement to the relationship? How can you bring more substance to the relationship? How
Right.
can you bring more challenges to the relationship? So the one thing that I want to advocate right now is that people set aside time to meditate, to self-improve,
Hmm.
and to self-regulate. So if your partner says, "Hey, you know what? I didn't like the way you were this week," then it's time to self-regulate. What was it about this week that had me off? Because 1 week can turn into 3 weeks if you're not communicating properly. And remember that connection leads to better communication. And so if I'm not connecting with you properly because I'm not bringing value like I used to, then people say stuff like, "Yeah, we grew apart." No, we didn't grow up. We didn't grow apart. We probably stayed stagnant. And because we stagnant, we feel like we're miles apart, but it's just that we stopped pouring into each other. Now, the next thing you can do to maintain balance is to make sure you have time together. Some couples have too much time apart, some couples have too much time together. But if you balance the time apart with time together, make sure, and there's a concept out there called the 2-2-2, and I add another two method. And that means every 2 days, we make sure we get a deep down and dirty connection. Okay, hey, how's your week going? I just want to touch base with you to make sure that we're doing okay. Am I giving value to you in this relationship? Now, are there ways that I can improve? And don't forget, both of us have to do it. And so don't ask me for some outlandish stuff, because you know I might ask you for some outlandish stuff. If you start being ridiculous with your wants, I might start being ridiculous with my wants. And so let's keep it, let's keep it sensible, right?
Right.
So the next two after that is every 2 weeks, we need to go on a date without the kids. That way you can have adult time and talk and communicate and eat and play some games, outside of the house and away from the kids if you have kids. And then every 2 months, take some time to go out. If you're married, you and you have kids, then you go away and you spend 1-2 days with each other away from the kids.
Hmm.
Because a lot of times people grow apart because they develop their kids, but not their relationships.
Right.
So when the kids become 18 years old and leave the house, they have been stuck 18 years in the past. They didn't develop for the last 18 years. So when the kids are gone, they're like, I don't know you, you don't know me, and our needs have changed, so we don't know how to meet each other's needs. So now all of a sudden we want to divorce or break up or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
And so that's why I'm saying every 2 days you got to stop connect. Every 2 weeks we got to go out on dates, and every 2 months we got to get away from each other to continue that connection. Because, like I said, connection is more important than that communication.
Mhm.
When you get the connection, the communication falls into line. I'm talking about healthy communication, not that toxic stuff that we're talking about. And
Right.
then every 2 years, the whole family go away on a major vacation. Just go travel the world and learn different experiences, different people. Just change your perspective, change your mindset, and change your life.
Right.
So that's how you get a balance. And don't ever work more than you have family time. Because a lot of times people put in, especially in the Western world, we think it's healthy to have these 80, 90-hour week work weeks.
Hmm.
And then the family suffers.
Right.
You have all this money, but now you divorce, the kids on drugs, maybe the adults on drugs, and everything's dysfunctional, but you got a ton of money.
Hmm.
A lot of European countries, they only work like 30 hours a week. and the vacation time is way more excessive than what we have over here in this country.
Right. Yeah.
And so balance is about getting your whole life, under subjection, making sure that everything fits into its spot and not one thing overpowering another. I know you need to have money, but what is money without family and friends? So and good, happy, positive relationships. I hope I put that in balance for you, the way you need it.
Yeah. Definitely. So I appreciate that. All right. So bonus question time, which is going to lead us into a friendly conversation on our next episode. Parenting styles is a big conversation piece around the Thanksgiving table, right?
Mhm.
And how it becomes a big conversation is at that table, a mother, a father, in-law, grandparents will say, I don't know why y'all let little Tommy do such and such, or whatever this and this. Oh, and then one parent may say, well, I don't let him do that. That's his daddy lets him do that. Different things of nature.
Mhm.
So our bonus question for tonight is, how do we support each other's parenting styles?
Well, first of all, you should have had a conversation before the kids were born as to what the differences in parent styles are. Because, for example, in some cultures, spanking is allowed, and in another culture, spanking may not be allowed. And so, especially if you come up from different races, different countries, different socioeconomic statuses, there could be a difference in how you parent. And so the first thing you need to do is to make sure that you all are on the same page when it comes to parenting. And then number two, don't disagree with one person's parenting skills in front of the kids, because kids are known to pit one parent against each other. Well, daddy said this, or mommy said this. And then there was a movie that I watched where the kid is like, I know mommy said that I can't have any ice cream, but your daddy, you're in charge of the house. Like, I thought you were in charge. And
Right.
Dad is like, hey, yeah, I am in charge. Hey, man, you know what? We're going to eat some ice cream. And then while they're eating ice cream, the mother comes into the kitchen like, why are you eating ice cream? Oh, he made me do it, and blame it back on the kid. But at the end of the day, kids will pit you against each other because that's what kids do. And it's not out of malice, it's just out of what kids do. And so, what I used to do in my house is when the kids came to me, say, hey, daddy, can I do this? Go ask your mother. And when they went to the mother said, go ask me. Now, when they do this twice, I would get up and then go talk to mommy to see exactly what it is and what,
Right.
And then we would agree on it. But I did not say yes right away without checking to see what mommy said.
Right.
So you have to have each other's back and don't badmouth each other. Well, you know what? Mommy's a little rough, so I'm gonna give you some ice cream. Don't be trying to be the good guy and mommy be the bad guy, or vice versa. Like, kids need to see that we are on the same page. So, and basically that's called a united front. You make sure that you talk about stuff ahead of time. What are the do's and the don'ts? How are we gonna make sure the kids don't get one over on us? And never talk bad about each other. And even if you separate, you still should never badmouth the other partner with the kids, because eventually the kids are going to grow up and get older and they will realize, hey, you know what? You pit me against daddy, or you made daddy or you made mommy seem worse than they really were. And I don't like you for that.
Right. Yeah.
And that happens a lot, especially in Western civilization, Western countries with divorce rates. A lot of times there's one parent pit against the next. And so you try to be as nice as you try to bribe these kids to be the favorite. And it's not about favorite, because you end up with bratty kids.
That's true.
I hope I didn't talk about it too much, because
you did, but that's okay. You got to get used to the bonus question and leaving the cliffhanger. You were supposed to, let me help you out. You were supposed to say, how do you support each other parenting style? You fight. All right, we'll talk about that on the next episode. Hey, listen, Dr. Howe, it has been a good conversation tonight.
Yes, yes.
We really tackled some
Some
pressing
doozies.
questions. And what'd you say?
I said we tackled some doozies tonight.
Yeah,
Some
definitely
of them
some
were some
doozy.
hard ones, yeah.
And and so I posed the question to the audience: can you relate to this? Hey, we look forward to seeing you on our next episode. We'll check you out later.
Good night.